everyone, welcome to another episode of Strong Style live here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by my brother down there in Orlando, Aaron Turner. How are you, Aaron? How are things?
Good, man. What's going on? I got a live band playing in the back, so if you hear that, just try to sing along. I don't know.
Okay, will do. Well, Aaron, you know, we're coming. This is our first show we've done since our live watch along this past Sunday of the Royal Rumble. For those of you who didn't watch it, you can go watch it now on the Outlaw Nation channel. We did a live Royal Rumble watch along. Jay Washington was with us for a majority of it, and your friend TJ, who writes at, was it slobberknocker.com? Is that right? What did you write
Jobber Knocker?
No, jobberknocker.com. He joined us for a little bit as well. So it was a lot of fun. And we did all the matches from 4 o'clock on to the end. We stayed on the air talking about it. And so many of you joined us, over 5,000 views, I think, or close to 5,000 views on that video. So awesome. So if you haven't watched it, if you haven't watched the Royal Rumble at all, and you want to hear Aaron Turner and I and Jay Washington giving you our commentary as the matches go along, as the events happen, then please feel free to do that and listen to it. And it's available on the Outlaw Nation Podcast Network as well as a podcast. So if you don't even have to watch us do it, you can just listen to us as we're watching the Royal Rumble, which is a lot of fun this weekend if you want to. But yeah, so many incredible things happening. We're going to talk about all the news going on in the world of entertainment. Edge, who's Edge going to take on? Who's Bianca going to challenge? What's Bad Bunny's status at the WWE? And speaking of the WWE, them releasing Lars Sullivan and releasing the first episode of their new documentary series, WWE Icons, which they profile the great Yokozuna. We're going to review that, do a mini review of that, and then, of course, we're going to talk about the huge NJPW deal with Roku and Kenta taking on or hitting Moxley from behind, and what door that might open for other wrestlers to roll into AEW at this point. Aaron, we're going to get into all of that. Are you ready?
Yes, indeed. I do also want to throw in there, this happened before, just a little bit ago, but Butch Reed passed away at 66.
Oh, no.
The Natural, one half of the tag team Doom with Ron Simmons. Big here in Florida, huge in the Florida territory. Butch Reed, you know, it was in the WWF as well, had a short stint, had a good rivalry there with the old hacksaw Jim Duggan. So, yeah, we lost Butch Reed today.
Damn.
So,
yeah, I remember Butch Reed had that blonde hair. You know, you had the black guy with the blonde hair. He was hard to miss. Huge dude. Always delivered a powerful match when he wrestled. So, oh, man, I'm just hearing this news. What a shame. You know, we get older, Aaron, this is going to happen. You start seeing the heroes from your youth or the people you watched from your youth passing away. We had Christopher Plummer pass earlier today. Yeah. So Butch Reed in the world of professional wrestling, sad to see him pass. How old? What, in his 60s, I imagine? Is that correct?
66.
66. Not bad. 66 for a wrestler, for a professional wrestler. 66, not bad achievement to get there. But of course, we send our best wishes and thoughts of comfort and prayers to his family as they deal with this incredible loss of Butch Reed. And maybe we'll have a little bit of a conversation about him later on as we look, because I just heard, maybe as we're talking and whatever, we'll compile some stats and talk about his career at the tail end of the show. But as we go along, please don't forget SuperChats and Streamlabs, or any kind of support you can throw the show. We thoroughly appreciate. The Streamlabs address is in the description of this video. It's also pinned to the chat if you have any questions on how to send in your Streamlabs. And Super Chats, of course, you know how to do that on YouTube, I'm sure. So do that as well as we go along. We'll read them on the air and talk about them. All right, Aaron, what's our first news item today?
First thing we're doing is our mini review of the Yokozuna Icons documentary. This is a new series, like you said, that's going to be popped up on the WWE Network. 4 episodes. So we got Yokozuna, Beth Phoenix, Rob Van Dam, and I forget who the 4th one is, but we're going to have a 4th one. So I'm excited about that. And I wondered what this was going to be, because back in the day, and by that I mean like 10 years ago, WWE used to make these killer documentaries, dude. They would release these like once every year. It'd be like one on Chris Jericho, one on Edge, one on Batista, one on the Big Show, and they would be super in depth about like their career and what they're doing up until now. And we get these people that maybe are a little bit of an outlier that you're like, I don't know if we can do a full documentary on them, or maybe we should just do it on the network. And man, they knocked it out of the park with this Yokozuna one. Let me get a couple stats here before we get too deep into it. He was born Oh, Agatupu, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. Agatupu Rodney Enawahi on October 2nd, 1966, and passed away October 23rd, 2000. Two-time WWF World Heavyweight Champion, the 1993 Royal Rumble winner. And of course, he's part of that Samoan dynasty, which includes just a few people of note, Afa, Sika, Rikishi, Samu, Jay and Jimmy Uso, the Tonga Kid, Umaga, Rosie, Peter Maivia, The Rock, and Roman Reigns. Just a few people you might have heard of in this family. But, it's just the way they profiled his life is just a side of Yokozuna that I did not know. I didn't know until probably I was in my 20s that he was not actually Japanese. So
right.
That just And for a long time, I thought that Yokozuna was not a legend too. Like, it just didn't register to me that because his run was so short. It's like 5 years, 4 or 5 year run. So I'm thinking, this dude's not a legend. He didn't do too much. But after watching this documentary, absolutely bona fide, certified legend, no doubt about it. So what did you think of this, man?
I absolutely enjoyed this one, Aaron. It just kind of worked out one night earlier this week because my girlfriend went to sleep a little bit earlier than I anticipated. So I was still wired, still wanted to stay up, came into my office, sat down in my recliner, and I was just flipping around on the apps. And I'm like, oh, yeah, let's see what's on the WWE. Let's see what's new. And I had forgotten that Icons documentary had debuted right after Royal Rumble. And so I think it was Wednesday night. I just kind of flipped it on and started watching it. And I was absolutely just engrossed in the documentary. There's so much about his life I didn't know about. I didn't know he had the connection to this Samoan, the Samoan Polynesian wrestlers, that long history of them in the country. They're the Afa and Sika. I had no idea he had these connections to them. And then you see him starting out, and when he became Yokozuna, in your mind you convinced yourself that he was Japanese. But you go watching clips from him when he first started out. He was always a big dude. But he was so nimble and so quick for a guy his size. It was really impressive to watch that. And he looked Samoan but as he gets older, you start to see how he puts on the weight, and it starts to go from something that is like, oh, whoa, to something that's like, oh, no. And as you go along and you see the tragedy of all and hearing about so many of the great memories that his family and fellow wrestlers have, his strong connection with The Undertaker, Mark Henry breaking down when talking about it, and hearing from so many of the people that Bret Hart chiming in, even Hulk Hogan chiming in a little bit about that WrestleMania 9 situation, how that all went down. And then to hear how young he was when he actually passed and what he was battling and trying to navigate as he was getting older and larger. Eventually there's only so much your heart can do, and sadly passed away in his sleep. You would imagine because of the size and because of the health of him at that time in a hotel in London, and there's so many sad stories throughout. There are great stories, of course, about him throughout as he was going up, but also those sad stories that as he was putting on the weight, breaking the toilet seat in Japan at a stadium, those kinds of things that you feel just as a guy who's, we all have our feelings about our bodies and stuff, but as a guy who feels like, like I struggle with my weight since I was a kid, it obviously was never near Yokozuna thing, but you feel the sympathy, like you can empathize with those feelings from your own perspective. And yet he was able to achieve so much, Aaron, at such a young age. He shot up the ranks at such a young age, and Vince gave him the strap, and he held the strap as a heel for a very long time at a time in the company when that wasn't done. So to see all of that throughout this documentary was a real joy, Aaron, for sure. What stood out for you?
What's funny about Yokozuna's run is you got to think about when he came into the company late 92, early 93, is they were going to put him in the tag team, the Head Shrinkers, with Samu, and which eventually became Rikishi.
Oh, right. Yes.
But he had an injury and he couldn't do it. So lucky for him, he got this amazing gimmick that he was able to run with. And he was a scary dude in that ring. Like the way that he would bounce people around, the way that he would slam people and amazingly not hurt them.
Yes.
So there's amazing, if you haven't seen it, there's an amazing botch when he does the bonsai drop where his feet slide out from under him and he literally sits on a dude's face. It's unbelievable. That probably hurt like shit. But
sure.
But just the way that he would move around, something that's impressive as well. You got to think the Undertaker comes in at what, 1989, 1990, somewhere in that area. And Yokozuna's already main eventing WrestleMania 9, where the Undertaker has been there, been that stalwart. He got a main event before the Undertaker.
Yeah.
So that tells you like how much they put in to Yokozuna. But Undertaker said, hey, I'm not jealous. He was my friend.
Right.
And he was in that infamous BSK group. If you know what that is, that was the Undertaker's like group of friends. Mm-hmm. So it's like the Undertaker, Savio Vega, the Godfather, Yokozuna, Rikishi, like just these dudes that would just always hang out and drink together.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see that they would show behind the scenes of that. Can we talk about WrestleMania 9 for a second?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Okay. So did you listen to that thing I sent you?
Yes, I did for the podcast that you sent me there, talking with Bruce Pritchard about the whole situation and the booking of that and what was laid out for the reasoning for Hulk Hogan to win the belt back from Yokozuna so quickly after he'd beaten Bret Hart.
Yes. So in the documentary, Bruce Pritchard's on there, and he says very quickly that the reason that they had Hulk Hogan beat Yokozuna was so that Hulk Hogan could be the champion on the European tour that follows WrestleMania. I call bullshit on that because I had listened to this episode before and I knew it was bull crap.
Yeah.
So we go back. If you haven't listened to it, it's the WrestleMania 9 episode of Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. If you don't listen to that podcast, I don't even know why you're a wrestling fan. But anywho, so Conrad is grilling Bruce about it, and he's looking through like the old match history, and they go on that European tour, and he's talking about it. Hulk Hogan never went on the European tour.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why drop the belt to Hulk Hogan for the European tour if he never went on the European tour?
Well, the crazy part of it all too, Aaron, is that look, I'm a massive Hulk Hogan fan. I'm never going to apologize for that. He is what I grew up with. He's the one that got me into professional wrestling. He's the reason I love it as much as I do. Both early Hulk Hogan and then the transition into the NWO. It's rare when a wrestler can have two greatest eras, and exist in both of them, and lead the pack, arguably, in both of them. And Hogan did that. That being said, as you get older, you start to read the stories of Hogan's ego, Hogan's desire to be in the spotlight, Hogan's desire to be the guy carrying the strap or holding the strap. And the way he explains it in this video, in this documentary, it's really great. You guys got to see this. It's the closest I've ever seen to Hogan come to admitting that he was wrong about something he pushed Vince to do. And someone's lying when they go, well, there was a lot of talk and then this or that. And then it became, they said that I was going to carry the strap. And, I thought this would be a great way to have Hulkamania reborn, because none of these other guys could carry the strap. None of these guys could, carry the thing. And so he essentially admitting that it was a stupid decision. And Bret Hart, clearly, there's nobody more bitter than Bret Hart about the WWF or WWE. And you can feel the bitterness still dripping off his tongue as he speaks about that decision and how that kind of screwed both Yokozuna and Bret Hart, temporarily screwed them over after Hogan won that belt that night. And it was kind of laid out in the documentary. I don't know if this, and according to you, this is not true, that they stormed the country or the world fighting each other, Yokozuna and Hogan. And according to you, it sounds like they didn't.
No, zero. Never happened.
Wow.
Instead, Yokozuna wrestled Hacksaw Jim on that loop. Yeah. And what happened there was Yoko beat Hulk for the title, and then they went on a European tour, but Hogan wasn't the champion. So there was no point of taking the belt off of Yokozuna to put it on Hulk Hogan, to go on a European tour, which Hogan did not go on, then to go on another European tour where Hogan wasn't the champion. That's the whole argument. Also, allegedly, this is according to Bret Hart, so take this with a grain of salt. I love the guy. Take it with a grain of salt.
Yes, exactly.
Allegedly, Hulk Hogan said to Bret Hart that he would repay the favor and put him over at SummerSlam that year. So it was going to be Bret the Hitman Hart versus Hulk Hogan for the WWF Championship, and Hulk Hogan was going to tap out to the sharpshooter. That's alleged. That's something that Bret said. I don't know if that's true. That doesn't sound like it's true to me. So But that's just something to keep in mind. But WrestleMania 9 is considered probably the worst WrestleMania of all time. And it's for a good reason. So
yeah, it was weird. But let's not move away.
But then again,
Go ahead.
I don't think Brett's wrong though. When Brett says that it's probably the best match that Yokozuna had was at WrestleMania 9, he's not wrong about that. It was a great match for what it was.
Yes, agreed, 1,000% agreed. And you get there, and we got there in the documentary, and then we see, and that's kind of like almost near the, he wins the belt back. Then he starts to put on the weight, slows down a little bit, and they tag him with Owen Hart, and many of our viewers here have mentioned how he won the tag team titles with Owen Hart, and that's essentially Vince, kind of taking care of Yoko and making sure he doesn't have to do a lot of the work, and it's Owen Hart doing a lot of the work, but they did eventually become champions and what have you, and then eventually, of course, Yoko can't keep doing it. He won't. They tried to put him on all these programs apparently, and it wasn't enough, and eventually they let him go, and of course he goes into the indies and tries to start a wrestling school and all these things, and passes away. But just if you haven't seen this one, I can't encourage you enough to watch it. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, not that much of your time. It goes quick, and the interviews they have with people are both current and at that time, so I like that mix that they did with this overall about Yokozuna. And just to correct you a little bit here, Aaron, and in just a friendly way here, there are other documentaries coming. There's more than 4, according to their press release here. Beth Phoenix, Lex Luger, Rob Van Dam, the British Bulldog, Yokozuna. That's the lineup that they're going to have here for this icon. So I can't wait to see what they do with this. And I can't wait to see these, especially the Lex Luger one, the British Bulldog. And Beth is still working, still doing her thing. But I like those documentaries that are exploring, like, the sad endings or what have you. And so the Lex Luger one is going to be very, very interesting. And remember, Yokozuna fought Lex Luger on that carrier, I think, on Independence Day on July 4th. So, yeah. One of the worst matches you'll ever.
Why did they not bring that up? That would have been something cool to bring up.
Well, because it's embarrassing, I imagine.
No. What my best friend's uncle, I think I've talked about him on the show before, Bill Fralick, legendary Pit Panther and former Atlanta Falcon and Detroit Lion, was on the aircraft character and tried to slam Yokozuna but could not do it.
Wow.
So he was one of the guys that tried, but that's a little footnote. Oh, he's a huge dude. I'm excited for the Bulldog one because Bulldog had a very sad ending, and I'm ready to see what that entails.
Agreed. So good stuff. So go watch it on the WWE Network if you haven't. As a side note, I had a little bit extra time after I watched that when I told Aaron this, and I went and watched the WWE Untold of the Dennis Rodman versus Karl Malone match with Hogan and DDP. Stellar. Absolutely stellar. That one's only 30 minutes. It's stellar to hear the stories. And they have Rodman currently, Bischoff currently, Hogan currently, and DDP, but apparently Karl Malone did not do the documentary. So you got to watch that one.
Karl Malone was the diva of the group.
I bet he's just like, you know what? I don't want to revisit that crap. So he moved on from it. Anyway, all right. Let's see if I've got any. Oh, well, I didn't even put the Streamlabs. Hold on. Let me see if we got any Streamlabs up that have come up. Let me see. I don't see any super chats. So if you want to send some support to the show, you got any questions or something, send in your Streamlabs and super chats as we go along in the show, and we'll answer them here today. Yeah, no Streamlabs yet. So, all right, let's move on to our next question here, Aaron, or news topic. What do we got?
We're talking about Lars Sullivan being released by the WWE. I don't think this comes as a big surprise to anybody. Lars Sullivan came up from NXT, a big guy from Colorado, was supposedly to be the next monster heel. Big guy, about 6'2", 300 pounds, big athletic fella, but just never really clicked with the WWE universe. There's probably a good reason for that. He has some really bad struggles with crippling anxiety, which caused him to push back his WWE debut when that was going to happen, and allegedly kept him from getting a push against John Cena at WrestleMania, which would have been huge, of course, for his career. Sullivan did praise the WWE for having compassion and honesty regarding the situation. It is also worth noting that Sullivan was fined in 2019 for racist, homophobic, and derogatory remarks on a bodybuilding forum. He got fined to the tune of $100,000, which probably doesn't help, which does not help your presence in the locker room. Definitely that. And what are your thoughts on Lars Sullivan?
Really complicated situation. Ryan Satin and I were at Collider when Lars was going to debut, and I remember, Ryan telling me after he broke the news, or he wrote about it on the Pro Wrestling Sheet when he owned it, that Lars debut was going to be pushed back. Because remember, at NXT he was destroying people left and right. I had my reservations about Lars because I really don't trust guys that come up from NXT with just, one color trunk. That's all they wear, is that red bikini brief or whatever it is. It doesn't really intimidate me anymore. That's like old 80s stuff, and it doesn't really kind of carry the same weight with me when I watch wrestlers nowadays as other wrestlers do. But he was billed as this kind of devastating machine. He had that incredible title match against, I can't remember who it was against, but it was incredible. It might have been against Aleister Black. That was back when Aleister Black had the title. It was an incredible match between him and Lars Sullivan. That one went back and forth. Really surprised to see how well Lars wrestled in that match against a quick mover like Aleister Black. So him coming in, and Ryan told me after, this is the reason why. And I felt sympathy because, obviously I've dealt with mental health stuff, so I understand it. It's a lot of pressure to move from NXT to the big roster. You're worried if you're going to do a good job. And apparently that got the best of him. And there were some other issues as well, that he had to negotiate. And then that situation, and when that situation happened with the comments that he made, I was like, I got to step out of this. And, you got to factor that into mental health stuff. Like in your mind, you look at this and you go, did he just have a mental health breakdown? And that's why he said the things that he said, but there were numerous comments. So what's the level to which I should be judging this man? So after that, I figured his time at WWE was on a clock, was like a sand, whatever, the sands were running out on the time that he was going to be in the WWE. So I'm not surprised they released him. I'm actually surprised that it took this long, to be honest with you, but maybe there were contractual issues, so they had to wait this long to release him. Where does he go now, Aaron? And were you surprised by the release, and where does he go now?
I would like to say that I am surprised, but I'm not. I actually forgot who Lars Sullivan was and that he was a wrestler, because seriously, like we had the Royal Rumble, and then he was released, and I was like, wow, I totally forgot that Lars Sullivan was a thing.
Yeah,
and that's really sad, because he was one of those like old school big men. Like you could totally have seen Lars Sullivan and Hulk Hogan hooking up in '89 and running the towns. You could totally see that. But once the stuff came out, the slurs and the bad things that he said, he was on it, like you said, he was on a ticking clock. And it was probably time to let him go. And not only that, he was not very well liked in the locker room, from what I heard. So that is not going to win you any favors, especially after all those comments and stuff like that. It's just start stop with this guy. And like you said, he had the anxiety issues. People struggle with mental health every day. It's a hard thing to kind of balance in your life. It's not easy to do. So I did read where he said he's essentially retired from wrestling. So we'll just have to see what he does next. It is also worth noting that I didn't put this on the rundown, but Steve Cutler was also released by WWE this week for allegedly just for testing positive for COVID-19. So that was something that came from Wrestle Talk. I just read that when we came on air, that Steve Cutler was let go for a positive COVID-19 test because he had a New Year's Eve party and it really pissed off Vince McMahon. So take that for what it's worth. I got that from Wrestle Talk.
Yeah, if you're down, if you're not at the top of the roster, don't do stupid shit. You're so much more expendable if you're not at the top of the roster. I guess it's just hilarious to me that people still do that in this business. One side note to this, I want to mention it before I forget here. I know we'll get to the WrestleMania stuff a little bit later and Royal Rumble stuff a little bit later. Carlito is apparently on a bit of a trial run with the WWE. He came back and people were just going crazy about how big he was. If you watch our watch along, we certainly were reacting to Carlito's size. Jerry Lawler still had the line of the night when he said, "What's in those apples?" It was great to see him coming back and like wowing the crowd with his size. But apparently he's on a 4-week trial run right now as a producer in the back for the WWE. You mentioned, Aaron, how they'd let go a bunch of producers and maybe bringing some of those back would help the overall booking and help the overall storylines. maybe Carlito can prove to have a second life in the backstage WWE as a producer. We shall see.
I think that would be awesome. I love Carlito. Just don't spit apples in anyone's face until this is over, please.
Yeah, which he didn't do at Royal Rumble, thank God. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Do you think Lars ends up at AEW? Do you think he goes to Ring of Honor? Like, where does he go? Where does Lars go at this point?
No, like I said, he said he's essentially retired, so I don't see him getting into wrestling any longer. Maybe some bodybuilding stuff.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. I don't know what to say except that we'll see what happens. All right, let's see. Any Streamlabs or Super Chats? No, still nothing. Well, are we not doing a good show here, people? What the hell's going on? All right, let's move on to our next bit of news items there. Aaron, what do we got? And please hit that like button while you're watching us, please. Thank you.
Next up, we have Kenta, formerly known as Hideo Itami, shows up on AEW Dynamite and lays out Jon Moxley with a go to sleep. It is worth noting that Jon Moxley will defend his NJPW United States Championship against Kenta on 2/26 at New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. Kenta has had a bit of a career resurgence since coming over from WWE to NJPW, even joining the infamous Bullet Club. So the question becomes, what does this mean for a possible AEW New Japan relationship, which will transition into our next story very well? But I kind of want to know what you think of this. Do we see more people coming over? What do you think?
Well, yeah, a lot of people have been speculating on the dirt sheets, for lack of a better term, that this is opening the door for other wrestlers to be going back and forth. You know, certainly Kenny Omega has made his bones in both of those federations, so why wouldn't you open the door? I remember one of the predictions I made when Ryan Satin was on here earlier was earlier a few weeks ago. I said I'd like to see an NJPW AEW crossover pay-per-view where they're both fighting each other in numerous matches. Would be fun to see. So no surprise to see it happening here. Both of those federations, I think, could use a little bit of a a spark, so to speak. AEW doing well with the ratings, trying to get a little bit over NJPW. Certainly a lot of love for NJPW overseas. What can it do in the States? And with their deal that they just signed, this is a great way to make this happen. You're going to bring in wrestlers who people already know in the States to maybe do guest spots or do multiple episodes on their program, and have programs to kind of introduce these other wrestlers to the fans stateside. Because I would imagine, Aaron, if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, you know about NJPW, you might even know most of the wrestlers. But if you're a regular WWE listener, a watcher, maybe you don't know that much about NJPW, or a mainstream WWE watcher. So you want to be able to connect with these wrestlers, having wrestlers that you already know going into these programs to fight these wrestlers on the NJPW show, which we'll talk about in just a second, is a great way to kind of get them over and get them known. And then those wrestlers go back to their federations, and then people are watching NJPW for what they have to offer.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm sure there are a lot of people that knew Kenta from the NXT days.
Yeah.
But something else that happens, if you see someone in that Bullet Club shirt, you're like, wait a minute, I know Bullet Club. I know what that is. That's NJPW. That's pretty hot. So they must be a good wrestler. Like, you may just know that just by seeing the Bullet Club logo on somebody, even if you don't know Kenta. I think it's pretty sweet that they're doing this. I kind of was against, I wouldn't say against, but I was kind of not feeling the NJPW AEW relationship because New Japan doesn't need them. And I don't think AEW needs New Japan. But if you're going to work together, then work together. It sounds great, because WWE ain't working with nobody.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that right now. So when he showed up, I was pretty excited, and I know that I think it was Tama Tonga or Tonga Loa that put up a picture that said they were backstage at Dynamite. So we might see. You never know. You might see the Gorillas of Destiny show up on AEW, and that would be pretty sick. So a lot to do there, a lot to take in. Maybe we'll see the Switchblade Jay White, because he's not going to WWE. He's staying with New Japan. So that was something we speculated a few weeks ago, and it looks like Jay White is staying with New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is kind of 95% what we thought was going to happen.
Yeah,
so
true.
So yeah.
Cool stuff. Let's see here. Justin Toner says, hey, John and Aaron, thanks again for the Rumble watch along. Glad it got traction on the channel. So who are Edge and Bianca going to challenge? All right, should we take this now, or should we do the NJPW story first, then circle back to this one? What's your thoughts?
Let's talk about the New Japan deal, and then we can circle back.
Sounds good. All right, what do you got?
So New Japan Pro Wrestling has landed a deal with Roku TV to produce a weekly television show in the US, the UK, and Canada. This comes from Variety. I'll give you the bullet points here. Beginning on February 11th, which is like next week, New Japan Pro Wrestling will air a 1-hour weekly show every Thursday on the Roku channel, which has around 61.8 million users.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be the first New Japan weekly show since the Access TV heyday, which was just basically rehashes of stuff that they had before. So this is actually like a weekly series where we're going to get to see the likes of, Switchblade Jay White. We're going to see Kota Ibushi, get to see all these stars coming over. And I know I saw a lot of people saying Roku TV. Who has Roku TV? Motherfucker, do you have a Roku TV? Because I have 4 of them. So
yeah,
I know all about Roku TV.
Yeah.
So
I have 2 of them. I have
this?
one. I love this idea because I have one here and one in the living room. I like the Roku because it's like $100 cheaper than the Apple TV, and I don't really buy content off Apple TV, so I don't really need to have Apple TV. Pretty much any app I want is on the Roku, and now HBO Max has finally come to the Roku. So everything I need or I watch is on here, from my British television with my girlfriend to WWE Network to HBO Max to Hulu to Amazon Prime to so many apps that I use all over the place, YouTube, what have you. It's fun to watch. So now being able to watch the Roku channel, which I rarely watch, like every once in a while, I'll watch it because there's a movie there I have to watch for the Cinephiles, and it's free on that channel, and I don't own it. I can just jump on there and watch it. So to know that NJPW is going to have a show there, I think it's brilliant. And doing it on Thursday. Remember, there's been this battle between AEW and NXT, and AEW has been killing NXT lately. And there have been conversations that we have had here on the show, and I'm sure other pro wrestling shows, where they've said, well, maybe NXT needs to move off Wednesdays and go and be solo on Thursdays. Well, that deal is over. Just go. NJPW has now grabbed Thursdays and is going to do their stuff on Thursday nights. So now that people are going to get a real taste of NJPW. My question becomes, though, Aaron, are they going to change the style of the show to Americanize it for American audiences? That I mean, are they going to have consistent storylines that you can follow? Are they going to I know we had JR has called some of the matches in the past, but is he going to now transition over to NJPW again to do both AEW and NJPW matches? Or are they getting new American announcers or new English-speaking announcers to be a part of this? I wonder what they're going to do, because sometimes if you start going down a rabbit hole NJPW, you can get lost in the storylines. They're not always consistent with how they're creating these storylines. They make you work to figure it out versus just laying it out for you. What do you think?
Ooh.
Hello? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cutting in and out real bad.
Okay. Did you hear what I said at all? Oh, do you want to go back out and come back in? All right, there we go. When I was going out and come back in. What do you guys think? Do you think they'll change the show? Do you think they'll change how they're doing it? Let me see what you guys are thinking. Yeah, if anybody, I don't know if anybody in here actually has actually been in wrestling ring, but taking a bump over is not fun at all. Yeah, I know that, Richie. That's for sure. Audition for a commentator, Rocha. Yeah, well, it would be fun if they let me. I think I'd be goddamn good at that shit, NJPW was always fun in the WCW days. Yeah, that's for sure, Manny. That's for sure. Justin saying, I've not watched much Japan stuff, but every time he's come stateside, Jushin Lager has always impressed me. Manny Gonzalez, him and versus Pillman at Super Bowl 2 was off the charts. That's for sure. Jushin Thunder Lager is awesome. This Richie Work says, this little local wrestling thing that we got where I'm at, it's called Empire State Wrestling. Respect. And Nicholas Zednick saying AEW is smoking WWE out of the water because of this NJPW and Impact partnership. They're always being fresh. WWE isn't, and I love WWE. Well, it's certainly possible down the road if that's the situation that we're going to. Jack Kelly says, I would be a great commentator. Oh, thanks, Jack. I appreciate that. I wouldn't even know how to begin to audition for something like that, or reach out to them to try to audition for something like that. I wouldn't even know how to do that. Let's see. My favorite lady wrestler from Japan was Akiho Hokito, Justin Toner, and Gramage. All right, Aaron, are you back? Should I put you back in?
Back in. Jesus
there we
Christ.
Go. Put him back in the show.
Sorry about that, guys.
No worries, man.
Internet went kaboom. So what were we talking about?
I was saying how I really enjoyed the NJPW deal here. I think it's great. Roku now, real quick, I'll make it real quick. I know people don't want to hear me say it again, but real quick, I think NJPW now owns Thursday nights. You know, there've been the AEW versus NXT situation. A lot of people thought maybe NXT could move to another night. Well, it ain't going to be Thursday night. As you said, 61 million subscribers there on the Roku channel. If you do a big push for it, if you let people know about it on the Roku channel, then people will watch this NJPW. It's got a very strong fan base here in the United States as well, brother. And so I think people who are curious about NJPW will take a chance to watch these shows. The question I have for you is what I said as you were cutting in and out is, do you think they'll change the way they do their show? Do you think they'll make it more Americanized, for lack of a better term, where you have consistent storylines and scenes and through lines and threads that you can follow? Because sometimes when you go into the NJPW hole, it's tough to figure out who's like what the storylines are sometimes, because majority of it being in Japanese doesn't help either. So what do you think is going to happen here?
I would like to think that they're going to intercut with some of their press conferences that they do to kind of build storylines. The biggest problem for me is that is my biggest problem. I need some sort of storyline. If you're just having matches, whatever, dude. Like I can go on the network and watch a million matches. I can go on YouTube and watch a million matches. You gotta give me something. You gotta give me some kind of pageantry. That was my biggest problem with Ring of Honor when they came to TV and everybody was all excited about it. And I was like, oh man, I could see Ring of Honor every week. Well, they didn't have storylines. It was just matches. Like, I don't know what's going on. So I need to be in the loop at least a little bit, even if it's like a ticker on the bottom. Like someone keep me in the loop. I don't think JR is going to be doing it. I believe it's going to be Matt Stryker. Don't quote me on that.
That's fine. I like Matt.
And maybe Josh Barnett. I'm not sure who's going to do it. I hope that it's I know it can't be live, but I just hope it's a different feel. Like I love JR and I always will love JR, but I just feel like New Japan is not JR style, and it never has been. So with the Roku channel, I think it'll be it'll be probably maybe a couple weeks before they can actually find that audience, because people are going to be like, Roku channel, I've never used that. I don't know what that is. Like, you just hit play on your remote and you can go to the Roku channel. But anyway, it's like I said, I have 4 of them, for God's sakes. So you just got to find your footing. If you're in JPW, you got to weather the storm. I don't know for how long the deal is, but it's only an hour show, so hopefully it's not too bad, and hopefully they can start pumping in paper. Maybe we'll pump in a pay-per-view every once in a while, and that'll really get people excited.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to it, man. It's starting next week, so already I'm going to set that on the Roku to record for sure, and that'll be fun to have that on there. And there's going to be, apparently they're going to release on demand some highlights of NJPW in 2020 to help people catch up. So I'm sure it won't be for like $60. I hope not. It'll be something that you can buy and then kind of watch and then get an idea of which wrestlers you might want to follow if you want to make NJPW part of your professional wrestling watching a weekly watching schedule. And how many is this now, Aaron? With NJPW, Ring of Honor, Impact, AEW, NXT, WWE Raw, and SmackDown, and NXT UK, if you want to throw that in the mix. Literally, you could go 7 nights and watch wrestling every night if you wanted to. Now, this is the time to be a wrestling fan.
Isn't it great? It's amazing. It's great. Something we didn't talk about last week with the Peacock deal that one of my friends brought to my attention was that when you look at what they're bringing over to Peacock, like NBC Sports will be over there and all that kind of stuff. NBC has a deal with the NHL. Okay.
Yep.
There's a lot of hockey on Wednesday nights. So it tends to make me think that NXT is going to move off of Wednesday. Probably by the end of the year, NXT is going to move off of Wednesday, because there is no way in hell that the Peacock or NBC Sports is going to say, you know what, we're going to put NXT up instead of the NHL. There's no way that they're going to do that. So look for that to come.
Yeah, that's possible too, Aaron. And you talk about that because of what you say that about Peacock, and your friend's absolutely right. But the NHL deal is up this year.
Well, never mind.
But I don't know if they're going to re-up and move them to Peacock. I don't know, but certainly that is a very strong possibility, because where else is the NHL going to go? They had it on ESPN, and there's a reason Fox could outbid ESPN. They weren't that aggressive to try to keep that package. So that is a possibility here going forward with them. So we shall see. We shall see. And Roku's also going to bring over all that Quibi stuff. So will that bring new eyes who enjoy entertainment? Will they eventually transition into watching the NJPW stuff? Who can say? Who can say? But certainly, Aaron, we're in the land of streaming services, and everyone is trying to grab libraries of content and make deals. Peacock, $1 billion for the WWE. It's all happening, bro, and we will be the beneficiaries in the long run of it because we'll be able to access all this stuff a lot more readily than we had the ability to do in the past. Not
absolutely. I mean, and plus, you don't have to use New Japan World, which was so hard to navigate.
Yeah,
now you don't have to use that
website.
So that's a plus.
Agreed. All right, let's hit some of these Streamlabs super chats that have come in here. Leech96 says, I really want Edge to challenge Finn or Pete Dunne for the NXT title and put over Finn or Pete. That match would be great. Edge should put over the younger guys here, but Vince will go Reigns versus Edge. All right, Justin brought it up as well, so we want to move into this situation here. What's your feeling? Do you think, we saw Edge at NXT, certainly with Finn and Pete Dunne there, so do you imagine that he'll get involved in this situation, or is he only there to kind of put these guys over by just being there?
No, he's just there to put the guys over just by being there.
Yeah.
Would it be great to see Edge as NXT champion? Absolutely. Does the NXT championship need Edge? No. Does Edge need the NXT championship? No, he does not.
Right.
And you are right on, Leech 96, when you talk about Vince wants Roman Reigns versus Edge because he wants a marquee matchup, spear versus spear. Kind of writes itself. You've got the tribal chief, the biggest heel in the company. You got Edge, the comeback player of the year, 2 years running. So why not put them up against each other? It doesn't make sense for McIntyre because it looks like he's moved on to Sheamus. I think what we're going to get is Finn will beat Pete Dunne at the Valentine's Day show, and then we're going to get Finn Balor and Karrion Kross. I think is what we're eventually going to get.
Okay.
So that would leave Edge versus Roman Reigns, which is a match I would want to see, but I just don't know if it's time to take the belt off of Roman Reigns and put it on Edge. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
But that's where I see it going.
Yeah, I could see that. WrestleMania moment. Have Edge holding the belt. It would complete the comeback fully.
The belt that he never lost, right?
The belt that, exactly. Everyone comes up on that one. Let's see. Josh Mabry says, I heard Vince wasn't at the Rumble. If true, does that make you nervous about his health? Well, Aaron, as we watch this, as we talk about this WWE Icons documentary with Yokozuna, Vince looked old. He looked like he was struggling to speak. Well, I mean, you know what I mean? He looked like he was struggling to put things together in his mind. And that was the first time, I think, in a long time where I've started to suspect that he is getting to that point where maybe this is a little bit too much for him. What do you think? Is there something going on with his health, or was he just not at the Rumble?
I just think he wasn't at the Rumble. And I don't think it's anything nefarious about his health or anything like that. I know that his mom had recently passed away.
Right.
I don't know if that was like a factor towards that, or maybe he had something else going on. But I think that you literally, and I hate to say this about anybody, but you literally would have to take Vince out on a stretcher to keep him away from the business. So it doesn't make me concerned about his health. I really think that you're going to find, like, one day Vince is going to be in the ring cutting a promo and he's just going to drop dead. And that's I'm serious. Like, I can't help but think that. Like, it's just how I feel. Like, you're literally going to have to carry him off of his shield in the business. So no, I don't think too much of it.
Okay. All right. This is was essentially sports.com. According to Ringside News, Mr. McMahon wasn't at the Royal Rumble, but was still very involved in the entire show via phone.
Sure, he was.
Kevin Dunn, Bruce Pritchard, and Triple H were the men in charge of the show. Vince missed last week's Raw and SmackDown following the passing of his brother, Rodney McMahon, on January 20th, and may have been spending time with family after such a huge personal loss. So, there may have been that. His brother had passed away.
Yeah, and he lost his mother not too long before that. So,
it's a tough job. Hey, you get older, it happens, man. This is life, son. This is life, ladies and gentlemen. Get on it. Let's see. Roberto Arsenal said Kenta showing up in AEW is like bleep showing up on WandaVision last night. Worlds are colliding, and I love it. Jay White right now might be my favorite wrestler to watch. Aaron, thoughts on that?
I mean, he cut a very interesting promo, and I was glad to see him back beating the hell out of people. But right now, I don't know. He's not my favorite right now.
Yeah.
I like real quick. I like what
Yep.
Nicholas Zednick said in the chat. I was watching NXT today, getting caught up, and he said when Edge was talking to Pete Dunne, Edge said to Pete Dunne, you remind me a lot of me and the good and the bad. And then Pete Dunne shrugged his shoulders, and then Edge said, I would have shrugged my shoulders like that 10 years ago, kid. And he's right. It put Pete Dunne over big time. So that was a huge moment that Edge did right there. I don't know if we'll see him back in NXT. Like you said, I think it's just a way to get put the guys over by Edge being there. Yeah. So that was a cool moment. Should we go ahead and talk about break down the Vengeance Day cards since we're already talking about it, and we'll circle back to Bad Bunny. Yeah. So the NXT TakeOver Vengeance card it's taking shape. It's going to be February 14th, which is Valentine's Day, of course. Yeah. And for the NXT Championship, of course, we'll have Finn versus Pete Dunne. The NXT Women's Championship triple threat match, Io Shirai versus Toni Storm versus Mercedes Martinez. That should be a banger. Yeah. And we'll have the NXT North American Championship, Johnny Gargano, the champ, versus Kushida. And we'll have the NXT Women's Dusty Cup Finals. It'll be Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez versus either Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon or Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. So what do you think about this card taking shape? What are you looking forward to the most?
Well, obviously, Balor versus Pete Dunne is the one that's I'm putting up on the top of my list. But that being said, Io Shirai, Toni Storm, Mercedes Martinez. Mercedes is in there. I don't think she's in there to win that thing. I think she's just in there to inflict damage back and forth. And I don't know if Toni is ready for them to put the strap on her just yet. But even though I think they should, I don't know if she's been built up enough just yet on this side of the pond for her to be ready to carry that strap and have it have some weight when she does it. So I think Io is still going to take this thing, but I imagine this is going to be a hell of a match with all three of these ladies giving their best efforts, and it's going to be a fantastic one to watch. I like Gargano versus Kushida. Kushida beat him twice already, so I imagine Gargano will win this one because it's always weird when a wrestler pins the champion twice, but not for the belt, and then faces the champion for the belt. 9 times out of 10, I've seen the champion retain the title. So that may be what's happening here as Gargano just recently won the title. By the way, I might be getting one of those The Way shirts. I like those shirts. I texted Aaron about those shirts the other day. I was like, I like that, whatever that is, that light blue on the black. It looks fantastic. Nice homage to the Mandalorian. So I'm considering getting one of those shirts for sure. The Dusty Cup Finals is fine. I think it'll be a fine match, but I don't think the Dakota Kai, I'm not a Dakota Kai bird. Like I know people like her. I'm not as blown away by her as other people are. But the prospect of Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon getting involved in a match, that excites me for sure. Do you think there's any chance this becomes a triple threat match due to what happens between Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon, and Candice LeRae and Hartwell?
It is very possible, but I think they're going to do the babyface versus the other team, and I think Candice is going to cause Dakota Kai and Raquel to win. I think that's what eventually will happen. But as far as the triple threat match goes, I think that you're kind of undervaluing Mercedes Martinez a little bit. I think that she could be the one to dethrone.
Really? You think she's at that level right now to be a legitimate challenger for Io Shirai to take the belt and carry the strap?
She's a badass, dude. She's like another.
I'm not saying she isn't.
I know, but she's like another Shayna Baszler. She's a killer. Yeah, and I think that she would be awesome in that role as NXT Women's Champion. It's been a while. I'm trying to think of the last time that we had a heel. Shayna Baszler would have been the heel Women's Champion. Mm-hmm. And they had a long run with it, but I would like to see Mercedes Martinez take it. But I think that Io is going to keep it for a little bit longer. Yeah. Maybe let Rhea Ripley settle on the main roster before I know we're not supposed to say, oh, she's going to get the call up. Right. Before she gets the call up, we're going to see what happens with Rhea Ripley on the main roster. Toni Storm, she doesn't need it. She doesn't have to have it. She's good as it gets anyway. She doesn't need a belt to justify her. But if they do give it to her, I wouldn't be surprised. I love Toni time. But
me too.
The Pete Dunne and Finn Balor match is going to be off the chain. It's going to be another Kyle O'Reilly, Finn Balor, like they're just going to beat the hell out of each other, probably get injured, break some jaws kind of match. Yeah. What's surprising about the card so far is no Undisputed Era. Oh, no Adam Cole, no Kyle O'Reilly, no Roderick Strong, no Bobby Fish. That's got to be a first for like the first time in about 3 or 4 years that we haven't had the Undisputed Era. on a takeover card. So that's very interesting to see what's going on with those guys.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for NXT as always.
Yep. Are we doing a watch along, or are you spending time with your lady that night?
Oh, it's on Sunday night.
14th.
Yeah, no, we could do that.
All right. Yeah, my lady doesn't care about Valentine's Day because every day
Neither
is
does
Valentine's Day in our house. So I'm happy to do it, man. If you're down,
It is.
it is. It has to be. That's the way
really
life is.
That's really sweet. But yeah, I think we could do that. Maybe that'll be our next watch along. I mean, the first one was so successful, we're going to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to figure out. Maybe I'll have to watch it on the iPad next to my computer so that it's more caught up than the Roku app was, because the Roku app was a few seconds behind. So I'll charge up the iPad and be able to watch it there.
Gramash really quickly said maybe an AEW Revolution pay-per-view watch along. Absolutely not. I'm not paying for it. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. If it was an app, I could pay $10 for. Absolutely, I would do it, but not now. Zeno Howard says, Rocha, first you hate the Iconics. Now you don't get to go to Dakota Kai. What's your beef with Australia?
I know.
/ New Zealand. LOL. I don't. Do I have a beef with Australia? Hold on.
You hate the Iconics.
I don't hate the Iconics.
You don't like Dakota Kai. You think Tony Storm's okay.
Yeah, I like Tony Storm. I think she's a champion in waiting, and I can't wait till she's done with NXT and rolls up into the main roster. Like, that woman is great.
What about Rhea Ripley?
I like Rhea Ripley a lot.
Okay,
I think Rhea Ripley is great. I'll stand for Tenille Dashwood. I thought Tenille Dashwood got a bit of a raw deal in some of her wrestling. Let's see. I'm looking at so not a lot of male Australian wrestlers, I guess.
Shane
that
Thorne.
True.
And Bronson Reed as well.
No, don't know these people. Let
me look up some New Zealand wrestlers. That's
even more probably a smaller pool to choose.
Dakota Kai from New Zealand. So
Buddy Murphy's Australian, but I don't. He broke up with Alexa, so he's.
What about do you hate Tony Garea?
No, I love Tony Garea. Listen, that's how fucking old I am, ladies and gentlemen. Tony Garea was my guy when I watched, and then it was Bob Backlund after that. When Tony Garea was a face who had held the championship for a little bit, and then Bob Backlund took over. But I remember loving Tony Garea, and then when he became a guy in the back, he was a guy in the back as well for many, many years, coming out to stop some of the other wrestlers from getting into fights with themselves. Samoan Joe. Wait. Samoan Joe.
Oh, Samoan. What about the Switchblade Jay White? You like him?
Yeah, I like Jay White. He's Australian. I'm down with that.
What about the Bushwhackers?
Oh man, those were great, right? The Bushwhackers were fantastic. Are these New Zealand or Australia?
I'm reading off the New Zealand ones. Okay. What about world famous kickboxer Ray Sefo? He's pretty badass.
I don't remember Ray Sefo. Tony Storm is New Zealand. All right, so I'm covered. Yeah. Don't come for me, man. I'm covered. I think that.
You hate British wrestlers though, like Brian Satin does.
I don't. Does he really hate British wrestlers?
No, it's an inside joke.
Oh, okay.
He had an opportunity to interview Pete Dunne and he didn't do it. And I was like, why did you not do that? And he's like, I didn't think we had time. I'm like, why do you hate Pete Dunne? But anyway. And there goes my life again.
What's the mustache guy? Who's the mustache guy? I love that guy. The tag team mustache guy. No, there's a lot of wrestlers that I like. Yeah, a lot of British wrestlers. All right, anyway. And we got sidetracked. Let's swing back to Edge as soon as he gets his light. What's he going? Is he frozen? All right. Let's see. Which show is best for Rhea Ripley, Raw or SmackDown? What do you think there? Rocha's healing. Uh-oh. You're going in and out, Aaron. Maybe it's time to wrap up the show, brother. I'm feeling you going in and out. Oh, Hill Nellums. Let's see. Are you there? Can you hear me? Yeah, we might have to drop you out there, Aaron. Sorry, bud. Rhea Ripley, Raw or SmackDown? SmackDown is so loaded. I think she has to go to Raw to help with ratings. And all the situations they've been involved in. So that's what I think, Justin. I think more Raw than SmackDown. Although I think she'd kill it on SmackDown. And wouldn't that be interesting to see her going up against Sasha Banks? Two NXT stalwarts going at it over the belt down the road would be fun. Her against Bayley would be very interesting as well. But I think Bianca, Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, that's the SmackDown side of things. You need Rhea to come in and kind of bring some ratings to the other side, bring some heft and weight to the other side of things as well. All right. He's still frozen. So we'll see if he can come back in just a second. Are you there? Oh, he's frozen.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. You're good. Rhea Ripley, SmackDown or Raw? Which one?
Monday Night Raw.
Okay. All right. I think so too. And Hill Nellum said, late to the show, not sure what was discussed, but very happy for Bianca Belair, but very sad that she couldn't experience a true pop from live fans when she won, like I think she would have. F COVID. The same for these crossover AEW NJPW appearances. Yeah, don't disagree with you, Hill. Absolutely. It would have been nice to see her pop, but you gotta go. You gotta move forward. It's an unfortunate timing, but she was very emotional afterwards and certainly deserved it. And it's a great next step for Bianca in her ascension to superstar status. Aaron?
Yeah, her and Sasha at WrestleMania is gonna be a banger. That's 100%.
Yeah. I agree. All right. I think we should wrap up there, man. Is there anything else we need to touch? Oh yeah. Well, so you think Edge is going to be Reigns? You think that's the situation there, Edge versus Reigns?
Yep, I think that's what we're going to get. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Sheamus versus, that doesn't excite me at all. Sheamus versus, there's two man meats just slamming into two beefs. Two sides of beef slamming into each other does not excite me, bro.
No, not at all. Just two white guys beating each other up. Not my thing.
All right, let's get out of here before Aaron's internet explodes. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Strong Style. I always appreciate you all taking the time to watch us and also to listen to us. Don't forget, the Outlaw Nation Podcast Network has the audio of all the shows here on the channel. You can listen to them. You don't have to watch our pretty faces. You just listen to us while you're doing whatever you're doing around the house, cleaning up, doing your yard work, or building stuff out in the garage, or working out. You can always listen to anything we got going on here on the Outlaw Nation Podcast Network, including Strong Style, which the audio is there every weekend. I drop it so people can listen to it while they're hanging out doing their things. Aaron, where can people find you, and any final words, my man?
You can find me on Twitter at Only Aaron Turner if my internet is working. If not, I don't know where you can find me. But yeah, find me there, and I'll talk to you guys next week.
Boom. There you go. You follow me at The Roku Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Please remember to like this video, to share this video, and subscribe to the channel down below. Leave a comment as well. So many of you leave some great comments while we're watching. And please remember to share the video. It's so important to share the show. The more people you share it with, the more people come aboard the Strong Styles train and be a part of our ever-building empire and ever-building fan base for this show. All right, that's it from us. Take care of yourselves. Practice social distancing. Wear your masks, and come back and see us next week for another brand new live episode of Strong Style.